sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at AI in financial services.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic these days.
For sure. And we've got some really interesting material to work with for this one.
Absolutely.
Specifically on this FSI and AI Hong Kong Summit.
Yeah, looks like it's going to be a big one.
Yeah, happening on April 9th, 2025.
Wow, still a while away, but I'm sure it'll be here before we know it.
Right. It's like all the big names are going to be there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Talking about, chief data officers,
Right.
heads of AI.
All the folks shaping the future of finance with AI.
Exactly. And, one thing that really caught my eye
Oh, yeah.
was this keynote by Sang Junan,
Okay, yeah.
head of data science in Asia for SIA Partners.
Impressive.
Yeah. And he's making this really bold claim
Oh.
that AI has the potential to completely revolutionize how financial institutions operate.
Yes.
So, making them more efficient, more customer centric.
Right.
And it's not just about automating existing tasks.
Right. He's talking about fundamentally changing
Right.
the way things are done.
Got it.
For example, he talks about AI being able to analyze loan applications.
Okay.
So fast and so accurately that approvals could happen in minutes, not days.
Wow. That would be incredible.
Right. Like a total game changer.
For sure. Especially for businesses that need access to capital quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And even individuals, too.
Right.
Think about how much easier it would be to get a mortgage or a small business loan.
Yeah. The possibilities are really exciting.
Yeah, but then the question becomes, what does this mean for the customer experience?
Right, because technology is great, but it has to work for the people too.
Exactly. And that's where Clement Quake comes in.
Okay.
He's a digital strategist at Adobe.
Makes sense. They're all about the customer experience.
Yeah, and he's arguing that delivering these amazing digital experiences is the top priority for financial institutions today.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Right.
Think about it. We're all used to these smooth digital interactions in other parts of our lives.
Yeah, totally.
Ordering food booking flights.
Exactly.
Banking and financial services need to catch up.
They do, or they'll get left behind.
Yeah, the expectations are higher than ever.
For sure, and Quake is pointing to some research here.
Okay, what kind of research?
It shows that 51% of financial leaders
Okay.
are prioritizing using digital interactions to improve their customers' financial health.
So it's not just talk. They're actually putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, exactly. And what's really interesting is how this all ties into what Quake calls generative AI.
Generative AI.
Yeah, so imagine receiving personalized financial advice
Okay.
tailored to your specific situation.
Okay.
All powered by AI.
Like a virtual financial advisor.
Yeah, basically it could totally revolutionize how we manage our money.
That's a big claim.
Right. It sounds amazing, but it also kind of raises some questions.
Oh, yeah, like what?
How can companies make sure this kind of AI-powered personalization is done responsibly and ethically?
That's a good point, especially given how sensitive financial data is.
Right, you don't want your personal information being used in ways you didn't agree to.
Exactly. And there's always the risk of bias in these systems.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do we make sure the AI is being fair and not discriminating against certain groups?
Tough question.
Definitely. And it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about the people developing it
Yeah.
and the policies governing its use.
Yeah, it's a whole ecosystem that needs to be considered.
Absolutely.
And speaking of practical applications,
Yeah.
there's this panel discussion titled, Will AI Live Up to Its Potential in FSI?
Ooh, that one sounds interesting.
Yeah, and it seems like they're going to be tackling those practical questions head on.
Okay, so less theory, more real-world examples.
Exactly, and the panelists are all actively implementing AI in different areas of finance.
Wow, so it's like getting a sneak peek into the future.
Yeah, and the lineup is pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. Who do they have?
We've got Alan Song from Standard Chartered Bank,
Okay.
Naila Shah from Citibank HK,
Uh-huh.
and Isaac Kam from DBS Bank.
Wow, some serious heavy hitters.
Yeah, and they're going to be talking about how AI is being used in everything.
Okay, like what specifically?
Everything from customer experiences and marketing
Okay.
to operational efficiency and risk management.
Makes sense. Those are all areas where AI can make a big impact.
Yeah, and they're also going to be covering areas that are ripe for AI disruption.
Okay, give me some examples.
Like credit scoring,
Okay.
underwriting decisions,
Mm-hmm.
even investment and trading strategies.
So basically all the core functions of the financial industry.
Exactly. AI has the potential to completely change how things are done in all of these areas.
It's a little mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
speaking of mind-blowing,
Okay.
Dr. Seth Huang's session on large language models in institutional quantitative trading.
Now that one sounds really interesting.
Right, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
Yeah, tell me more about it.
So Dr. Huang is the CIO and head of AI strategies at Microbit Capital Management. And he's talking about using these incredibly powerful AI systems
Okay.
to essentially create an army of digital traders.
Whoa, hold on. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that.
Right, it's like AI making trading decisions.
Yeah, what does that even look like?
Okay, so picture that you've got these AI agents,
Okay.
right? Sophisticated algorithms
Mm-hmm.
with access to massive amounts of data
Okay.
and incredible processing power.
Got it.
And they're constantly analyzing market trends,
Okay.
identifying patterns,
Yeah.
and making these like lightning fast trading decisions.
Wow. It's like having a team of the world's best traders,
Yeah, except they're not human.
and they don't get tired or emotional.
Exactly.
That's both incredible and a little terrifying.
Right, like what happens to human traders in this scenario?
Yeah, are they all out of a job?
It's a good question, and we'll definitely be diving into that more in part 2 of this deep dive.
Looking forward to it. This is fascinating stuff.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack here.
For sure.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Right.
there's another crucial aspect we need to consider,
Which is,
the regulatory landscape.
oh yeah, absolutely. AI is a powerful tool.
For sure.
And like any powerful tool, it needs to be used responsibly.
Right.
That's why the panel discussion on regulating AI can legislations tame the algorithm
Mm-hmm.
is so important.
Yeah, it seems like regulators all over the world are trying to figure out how to create laws that protect people,
Right.
but also encourage innovation in the AI space.
A tough balance to strike.
Yeah, and for financial institutions, the stakes are even higher because their decisions have such a big impact on people's lives.
True. We're talking about things like people's savings, their investments, their livelihood.
Exactly. So the panel is going to be looking at things like fiduciary duty,
Okay.
data privacy, and making sure that AI systems are used fairly and ethically.
Those are all critical considerations.
Yeah, and they're going to be diving into the specifics of AI and data sovereignty legislation worldwide.
Wow. So like a global perspective.
Yeah, looking at what different countries are doing
Okay.
and what the common threads are.
Makes sense. We need to learn from each other on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the panel itself is like a who's who of experts in this field.
Okay. Who do they have?
So Abhishek Tiwari, head of fintech and innovation at Fubon Bank, is moderating.
Okay.
And then we've got Dr. Efstratios Sogenis from Prudential,
Uh-huh.
Lauren Hercombe from DLA Piper Hong Kong,
Okay.
Sandra Liu from the London Stock Exchange Group,
Wow. Impressive.
and Ricky Leung from UBS.
So they've got perspectives from both the legal and financial worlds.
Yeah, which is essential for a nuanced discussion on this complex topic.
Couldn't agree more.
So it's clear that regulation is going to be a key part of the AI story in finance.
Absolutely. We can't just let this technology run wild.
Right. We need to have guardrails in place.
But at the same time, we don't want to stifle innovation.
Exactly. It's about finding that right balance.
Is that-
No, I'm also curious about how companies are actually using AI in their day-to-day operations.
Yeah, like beyond the theory, what are the real world applications?
And that's where these 2 exclusive executive luncheons come in.
Okay, tell me more about those.
So these are invitation-only events.
Makes them sound extra special.
Right. And they're a chance for attendees to get like a more in-depth look at specific use cases and best practices.
Sounds valuable.
Yeah. So the first one is called Decoding the Data Advantage, How Modern Databases Drive Financial Innovation.
Oh, yeah?
And it's sponsored by Oceanbase.
Makes sense.
And they've got speakers from Oceanbase and Alipay HK.
Interesting combination.
Yeah, and it's moderated by Winston Thomas from CDO Trends.
Okay.
And then the second luncheon is called Reimagining Customer Experience in the Age of AI, a practical case in delivering meaningful digital interactions.
That one sounds right up my alley.
Right. And this one is sponsored by Adobe.
Okay.
And they've got Clement Quake from Adobe.
Oh, right. We were just talking about him.
Yeah. And Leo Lau from Manulife sharing their insights.
Great lineup.
Yeah. And it's moderated by Sheila Lamb, also from CDO Trends.
So it seems like these luncheons are where attendees can really get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, they'll get to hear about real-world successes, challenges.
And lessons learned.
Exactly.
It's all about bridging the gap between theory and practice.
Totally.
So this summit is shaping up to be quite the event.
It really is.
A deep dive into the world of AI in finance.
And before we wrap up this first part,
Yeah.
I want to shift gears just a little bit
Okay.
and talk about a topic that I'm particularly fascinated by,
Which is?
the rise of AI in quantitative trading.
Ooh, yeah, that's a hot topic.
It's like something straight out of science fiction.
But it's becoming reality faster than we think.
Yeah.
Huh.
So in part 2, we'll delve into that world
Can't wait.
and explore what it means for the future of finance.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into the FSI and AI Hong Kong Summit.
Picking up where we left off, this idea of AI, like running the show in quantitative trading, is pretty wild.
Yeah, it really makes you think, like, are we going to see algorithms replacing some of the best traders out there?
And that's what's so fascinating about Dr. Seth Wong's session at this summit.
Right, the CIO and head of AI strategies at Microbit Capital Management.
Exactly. He's not just talking about this stuff, he's actually doing it.
So this isn't just like some far-off future scenario.
Nope, this is happening right now.
So what's he saying? Like, how does this AI-driven trading actually work?
So imagine you have these AI agents, these super sophisticated algorithms. They can analyze tons of data really fast.
Okay, I'm following.
And they're constantly scanning the markets, looking for patterns, and making split-second decisions about what to buy and sell.
It's like they have a sixth sense for the markets.
Kind of, yeah. And they don't get tired. They don't let emotions cloud their judgment.
So it's like having a team of the world's best traders, but they're all robots.
Exactly. And that's what has a lot of people both excited and a little bit scared.
I can see why, like, what does this mean for the markets as a whole?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, like, could this make the markets more stable, or could it lead to more crashes?
It's hard to say for sure, but I think it's important to remember that AI is just a tool.
Right.
It can be used for good or for bad.
And it all depends on how it's developed and how it's regulated.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the panel discussion on regulating AI.
Right. Can legislations tame the algorithm?
Yeah, that's a big question, and I'm curious to hear what the experts have to say.
Me too, because it seems like a really tough balance to strike.
Yeah, you don't want to stifle innovation, but you also don't want to let things get out of control.
And in finance, the stakes are even higher.
Definitely, because we're talking about people's money, their livelihoods.
Exactly. So how do we make sure that AI is being used responsibly in finance?
Well, that's what the panel is going to be exploring, and they're going to be looking at it from a global perspective.
Right, because different countries are taking different approaches to regulating AI.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what the common threads are.
Yeah, what are the best practices? What are the lessons learned?
And what can we learn from each other?
And speaking of learning from each other, let's talk about the 2 executive luncheons.
Oh, yeah, those sound really interesting.
They do, right?
Yeah.
Like a chance to really dive deep into some specific AI use cases.
Yeah, and hear from companies that are actually doing this stuff.
Exactly. So the first luncheon, Decoding the Data Advantage, How Modern Databases Drive Financial Innovation.
Okay.
That one's all about the infrastructure behind AI.
Yeah, because you need a strong foundation to build on.
Totally. And then the second luncheon, Reimagining Customer Experience in the Age of AI, a practical case in delivering meaningful digital interactions.
So that one's more focused on the customer-facing side of things.
Yeah, how can AI be used to improve the customer experience?
Makes sense. That's a huge area opportunity for AI in finance.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to hear what Clement Quick has to say about it.
Oh, yeah, he's speaking at that one, right?
He is alongside Leo Lau from Manulife.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I think these luncheons are going to be a great way to bridge the gap between theory and
Okay.
practice.
And that's what makes this summit so valuable.
Right, it's not just about the big ideas, it's also about the practical applications.
Exactly. And it's a chance to learn from the best in the business.
And to make connections that could be really valuable down the road.
Definitely.
But, even with all the excitement about AI,
All right.
we can't forget about the ethical consideration.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because AI is a powerful tool.
And with great power comes great responsibility.
So how do we make sure that AI is being used ethically in finance?
Well, that's what we're going to be exploring in part 3 of this deep dive.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the FSI and AI Hong Kong Summit, I think it's important to take a step back and think about the bigger picture,
Yeah, for sure. Like, what are the implications of all this for society as a whole?
Exactly, because it's easy to get caught up in the hype. All the cool new technology, all the potential benefit.
Right. But we also need to be mindful of the risks.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to something as important as finance.
Absolutely, because financial decisions have a huge impact on people's lives.
And one of the biggest concerns I have is about bias. you know?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Like, what if these AI systems are just perpetuating existing biases?
Right, because they're trained on historical data.
Exactly. And if that data reflects past discrimination, then the AI could end up making discriminatory decisions.
And that's a really scary thought.
It is, and it's not just about lending decisions either.
Right. It could be anything from insurance to investment advice.
Yeah, and the problem is that these AI systems are often like black boxes.
Yeah, it can be hard to understand how they're making their decisions.
And that lack of transparency can really erode trust.
For sure, especially when it comes to something as sensitive as personal finance.
So how do we address these ethical challenges?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that AI is not just a technical issue.
Right, it's a social issue too.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to involve a wider range of perspectives in the development and deployment of these systems.
Like, who are we talking about?
Well, for starters, we need ethicists. People who can help us think through the moral implications of AI.
Okay, makes sense.
And we need social scientists, people who understand how AI might impact different groups in society.
Right, because the impacts aren't going to be felt equally by everyone.
Exactly. And we also need to make sure that the people developing these systems are representative of the population as a whole.
So diversity in tech is really important.
It's crucial because if the people building these systems all come from the same background, they're more likely to create systems that reflect their own biases.
Right. It's like that saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. You need good data and you need diverse perspectives to create AI systems that are fair and equitable.
And it's not just up to the tech companies either.
Right. Policymakers have a huge role to play here, too.
Yeah, like we need regulations that ensure AI is being used responsibly.
Absolutely. And those regulations need to be flexible enough to keep up with the rapid pace of innovation.
Yeah, because this technology is evolving so quickly.
It's hard to even imagine what the future holds.
But one thing's for sure, we need to be having these conversations now.
Definitely. We can't just wait and see what happens.
We need to be proactive in shaping the future of AI.
And that means being aware of the risks, asking tough questions.
And holding companies and policymakers accountable.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, it's about making sure that AI is used for good.
Right. To benefit society as a whole.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
The future of AI is not predetermined. It's up to us to shape it.
Yeah, we all have a role to play.
So stay informed, stay engaged, and let's work together to create a future where AI benefits everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI in finance.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
And we hope you'll join us again soon for another deep dive into the topics that matter most.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made up.